What's good, everybody? We are back. It is your boy Jarod and your girl Gabby. Episode 111. Oh, Gabby 111 of the Kicks and Shit Show. See, we don't even got air horns going today.
No, we are flying with it today.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
That first air horn made me feel like I was in trouble, Jay. I'm like, I know it's late out on the East Coast, so
it is late on the East Coast.
Yeah.
You know, but of course we got the soundboard is not even up and rolling. You know, this is sometimes you have days like this. Anyway,
retrograde kind of shit, Jay. It is retrograde shit. Let me tell you.
Here we go with the retrograde.
We got retrograde coming in. I mean, it's that's the whole vibe. I don't know. Everything feels like it's a little bit off this week. Okay. You know, that's just the mood. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's cool. And since we are I mean, we're live to tape. We're not live like right now, but we are live to tape, and we're not going to do much editing. Our guest is already here. It's Alexis Robinson. How are you?
Hey, girl. Welcome to the
show. I've never used this.
You never used Riverside, huh? Yeah, it's we like it. It works for us. I
also never do podcast. I never do these.
This is like an exclusive interview kind of shit right here. Yes, bless.
For you,
So you're saying this is like, this is like that sit down you get with like the A-lister who never does sit downs. This is what's happening right now.
Not the A-lister, just the very speaking-er. So I do like one every quarter.
Wow.
A for Alexis. This is exclusive shit right here, y'all.
We are fortunate that we are the ones who got the one exclusive for this quarter. So, folks, if you've been listening to the pod the last couple of weeks, you know that the U.S. Open just wrapped up. Congratulations to Carlos Alcaraz, 19-year-old, winning his first Grand Slam at the U.S. Open, and Iga Swiatek winning her third Grand Slam, her first U.S. Open, but third of her young career. So kudos to them. Alexis, you were quite busy out there doing stuff. Can you let the people know what you were doing out in Flushing?
Yes, I was on the official social media team. So I think there were 11 of us on the team that had to cover every single match from
a lot of matches.
Fires.
Yeah, tell people don't realize because they only probably think of like the main draw, right? With the singles. They don't think about qualies, wheelchair, juniors, doubles. They don't think about any of that stuff.
So I mean, I'm a tennis player. I'm a former tennis player. I've been in qualifiers of pro tournaments and stuff, so I'm kind of used to the grind. So I was sort of ready for it, but I also am a West Coaster, so I forgot about that aspect of it. But qualifiers, so to get into the main draw of the U.S. Open, you have to win 3 matches if you are not ranked. So we had over 100 players trying to get into the main draw. Mm-hmm. It's awesome if you do because you automatically get like an $87,000 check, which for some of these players, like I never saw a check that big when I was playing pro.
I mean, same.
I saw a close one, but never that one. So that's a big deal when you're on the pro circuit, especially if you're just starting. Mm-hmm. And then that's a week that we were doing that. That is before the main draw starts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then when the main draw starts, there's so many matches. There's probably 10 matches going on at once all day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they start at 6 a.m. on the West Coast, but 9 a.m. on the East Coast.
That's how it's different, man. That East Coast to West Coast. In the evening, I'm okay, but in the morning,
it's tough. I am not a morning person, not that kind of morning person, especially like cognizant and stuff. So,
and you gotta grab video, have some funny little caption to go with it, right? You gotta be on it, right?
Yeah, and for qualifiers, you have to be more creative because
nobody knows who they are.
Guys are. So you have to draw people in. So you have to be creative. Luckily, like I said, I have a tennis background. So there were things that I knew that would catch on and be kind of funny, but it wasn't easy. And there were times where me and the team would be going back and forth, just like kind of being like, do we think this will work? Do we think this will be funny? And then when we got to the main draw, watching all those matches all day and trying to do the same thing, but also trying to do it while honoring Serena. It was so stressful.
It takes a village, man. I mean, I will say the content this year was popping.
It was, yeah. Social media content was popping. So kudos to you. And it was tough for you guys because, you know, week one of the tournament, of the main draw, was all about Serena, which, and by the way, rightfully so. But yeah,
we were prepared. We knew it. I was excited. I remember when I got the email that I was going to be on the team for the contract work. And I was with my boyfriend at the time in Kentucky. And I was like, oh, snap. This is going to be fun. As a tennis player, as a tennis player, this is going to be fun. I don't know if anyone else on the team is going to think it's going to be fun because tennis has kind of been in a downward this year, especially because none of the tide is turning. None of the same guys are winning. None of the same girls are winning at all. And then there's still drama with like politics, obviously, like Ukraine and Russia and things like that. And then, you know, I knew Novak wasn't going to be able to get into the country. We had to anticipate that. So there was just so many moving parts. So I was like, the rest of the contract team, they're probably not going to have as much fun as if they're not tennis players or fans.
Right.
But then we were in Kentucky at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and I see on the ticker, the ESPN ticker, Serena Williams has just announced her entry for Cincinnati.
Right.
And I was like, oh, she's playing the Open. Thank goodness. I was like, if she's playing Cincinnati, that means she's playing.
Warming up for the Open. Yeah.
Getting ready.
So I was like, awesome. It's going to be fun. Like, this is really going to be exciting. And then I remember telling everyone at the table that I was like, guys, I'm working the US Open and Serena's playing. It's going to be lit.
And it sure was lit, by the way. For anyone that was there, it was
diamonds lit, like lit with diamonds. Let me tell you,
it is the energy, the vibe, and I love that. And you could tell that Alexis is such a tennis insider because for those that don't know, right? Like Cincy and Toronto, those are the two big hardcore warm up tourneys before the U.S. Open, right? So like someone enters that, I mean, barring injury, they're doing that because they're playing the U.S. Open, right? That's the whole reason. And so you were excited. You're like, all right, I'm going to go. I want to see Serena. We're ready to roll.
My mom is like, oh, like, she's like, should we go to Cincy too? She's like, she was ready. My mom was like, my family is what got me playing tennis. So then 3 days later, the Vogue article comes out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working Serena's last tournament. I was like, this is like the rest of my summer. I was like, everything else I got to cancel everything.
Everything's canceled.
I was like, I have to get everything business-wise, everything else in order because this is going to be like my entire 3 weeks. Yeah. And it was. I eat, slept, and breathed tennis. I've been in a bubble for 3 weeks that I just got out of.
That's a great way to describe it because people who, you know, I was there covering it for one of my media outlets. But even that, right? Like I decided it's like, all right, I'm not getting there till noon today or I'm not showing up till 3 o'clock, you know, like what, right? But like you're like, no, I am literally up from like the crack of dawn and literally not in bed again until early the next morning because these matches ended at 4 a.m. right? Like
the matches felt later this year, right? Didn't they?
We love him, and we're happy he got his first slam. But man, he had a lot of fights.
A marathon player, man.
And he always had the night matches, so it was a lot of the time we were on shifts, but still because we were so gun set on making sure the content was amazing and everyone who wasn't a tennis fan would want to tap in with us. Even when we weren't technically clocked in, we would be like, this is a good idea. And we would still be working as a team. When that Saquon Barkley video went up, that was all of us. Like we all were like, we have like in the group Slack talking about what are we going to do with this video. So it was just like, there was no sleeping. There was no.
And it was great, by crazy. The way. That was great teamwork because I was at that match and so like, I mean, normally I'm not on like my phone with the match. Like I'm not looking, but like, I remember being like, oh, what's going on? And I was like, I wasn't near Saquon, but I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like, and then everyone picked up on it, right? The whole idea of like, that's everybody during every point. And he's like, and moving and like going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, and it was, but you loved it because you got the emotion of what in Saquon, you got what all other 20-something thousand people, that's what everybody else is feeling, right? You just happen to have him do the visual representation of that. And that, I think, was really cool that you guys were able to do, again, having the advantage of, you know, a Serena retirement tour, right? And then, of course, all those amazing matches with Alcaraz on the men's side. I mean, the center match was insane. The Tiafoe match was, I mean, it's just like, oh my God.
So many different ones. Crazy.
I know. I'm kind of glad Djokovic is like one of my favorite players. What he's like, the personal and his political side, it's like, that's tough. Right. But as far as like
tennis skills
playing
on the court,
he's the most like Agassi, who is my all-time. So I was actually excited that he wasn't going to play here once it was like confirmed, because I was like, this tournament is going to be all about Serena and all about the passing of the torch. Like, I'm a tennis fan who keeps up with tennis, who watches tennis. And even I was shocked at how many players on both men's and women's sides are about to take over this.
It really is wild. Like the big three changing on the men's, I feel like was a major moment, right? With like this next gen of like amazing tennis. Like I'm watching some of these points, of course, on US Open Social, and I'm like, is this real? Like, cause I play tennis too, but I was like kind of fit, but like the breadth and the depth and these shots, I'm like, I don't even understand how this is possible. Like this shit photoshopped. I don't get it. It is unreal, this next gen.
You're right. The next generation, I mean, on both ends, men's and women's, just wild. Like you're watching these matches and I'm like counting in my head, that's a winner. That's a winner. That's a winner. I'm like, yet points still going on. I'm like, you hit like 15 winners, but this point is still happening. How is this going on right now? And it's just, but that's like the evolution of like athletes and human beings, right? Like this ain't your grandpappy's tennis, right? This ain't Roy Emerson and Don Budge out here, right? These are serious, like, you know, elite athletes. I think that's
super
the difference
athletes,
now, right? It's like some of the best athletes in the world play tennis now versus in the past. That may not have been the case.
I literally obviously I come from a family full of like professional basketball players, but I tell anyone who asks that I'm the best athlete in my family.
That's right, girl. See, it's the other court sport that people need to be talking about.
I play tennis, and it's hard. I didn't have any teammates,
right,
and it requires athleticism without help from others. And it's
a head game.
You don't have a coach, like. And I was a nutcase when I was playing tennis. So
I love it, a nutcase.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because you see, like, I would see people complain about Nick Kyrgios's, like, meltdown. And I was
like, I relate to this.
I was like, that was not even that bad.
You're like, because let me tell you what I would do.
I was like, I was in college breaking several rackets. So
I was just going to ask. I was like, how many rackets you went through in college?
I remember, college, it was kind of different because, once you get to college, you get so much taken care of as far as equipment. Yeah. So I honestly didn't even pay attention to my equipment. But in high school, but in high school, I went through, and high school seasons are what, like maybe 8 weeks max. Yeah. And I went through 16 rackets, and my mother was pissed.
Damn, Gina.
I mean, right? Like, so you show up to the match, you got like probably 5 strong rackets in your bag, maybe 6, right? Like, you get mad, you crack through 3 of them. You're like, damn, I only got 3 left. let me cool out. Let me relax because I ain't gonna have any more rackets to finish.
And it was like high school tennis that did not matter at all.
It all matters. Well, at the time, it all matters.
But it did matter because you're a competitor. So of course, everything matters.
Exactly.
It don't matter. Like,
too.
You out in the backyard with the sibling. It's like, no, this matters, my friend. Like we going.
Oh yeah.
It's just funny because I think I lettered like 10 times in high school. I did like every sport, but when it came down to what I was going to play in college, I just knew. I was like, I cannot have any teammates. Like, I need to be accountable for my wins and my losses.
I love it. Well, it's
doubles.
I was going to ask, did you play doubles? Now I need to know.
Doubles, that one was enough. And I had no choice because I'm left-handed and I grew up. So my uncle, John Lucas, coaches for the Rockets. A lot of people don't know this, but he played tennis at Maryland as well.
I knew that.
And he's one of he's one of the few, I doubt there's many others, if any others, that played professional basketball and tennis at the same time. And so he's older, obviously, and he is a serve and volley type player. So, and like John McEnroe, that's what I grew up on.
That's right.
So I've always been a serve and volley type and taken advantage of being left-handed.
It's a huge advantage.
So I had to play doubles. It was what was going to get me to the next level. Yeah. So that was how I was able to do some pro tournaments. Is my doubles partner that I met in college, she was the #1 tennis player in Vietnam.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, cool.
So she got wild cards and stuff into like everything.
That's dope. Well, and playing doubles, of course, works on your volley game and your hands at the net, right? So you're like, you're doing all the things. But all right. So we got excited about the U.S. Open and got all amped because it was crazy. But let's rewind, get back to the beginning, right? Like, how did you get started in tennis? You talk about your athletic family, so you got to kind of give people the primer as to who you are and how you got all into all these sports and these things. Yes. You gotta kind of do the thing just for a little bit so people know.
Okay. So I was born and raised in Vegas. I always like to say that part.
Alexis from Vegas.
Yep. But so my dad is a former professional basketball player. His brother, my mom's brothers, like they just were all hoopers and had a lot of big old kids, including me. And
that's amazing.
I'm like the shortest of my siblings and cousins, and I'm 5'8". I'm not short, but so we all knew that we were going to play sports in some capacity. And I just remember telling my parents, like, I'm going to make sure you guys don't pay for college. So don't bother me about anything. That's what I did. So I went to school and I was in Oklahoma at school. And obviously I had no idea that football was as big as it was.
Religion. Oh my God. It's a religion out there.
Yeah. Like Vegas is not like a big, now we have the Raiders and stuff, but it wasn't like that. So I go to this football school. I have family that's at Oklahoma State that are hooping, and, that's a football school and things like that. So I ended up just meeting a lot of the other athletes and things like that. So when I was done with school, I just knew I didn't want to work for anyone. And I knew how to take care of like athletes and make sure I could like connect them to brands and things like that from my family. So I basically was like, some of the guys I went to school with, I was like, hey, I can help you out when it's draft time. And that's what I did. And I did a couple of things for my uncle, who obviously former #1 draft pick and now still NBA coach. And I went back to Vegas and was doing stuff with Bishop Gorman, which breeds a bunch of athletes and things like that. And I literally just figured out how to connect people and athletes to brands. And then I figured out how to do that on a cell phone through social media. And I caught on just before others. So I kind of just figured it out. I just know how to make stuff trend and how to research, I guess. And so ever since then, it's been like 5-6 years since it's been 7 since I've been out of school. I've just been hired by different organizations. I do college basketball tournaments. Last year I did the Duke Gonzaga, the biggest college basketball game. I do high school recruiting tournaments. I still work with some athletes and things like that. So it was cool. I got to kind of do my dream job, which was finally go back and do a tennis project. And it ended up being for Serena Williams' last tournament. So it was like full circle of everything, because I finally got to do a project that was tailored to what I did. So
that's what it's about, though, right? It's like those are the moments where, like, I know you said this earlier, I'm turning off my cell phone, canceling all other projects. Like, this is it. I'm going to join this bubble. And we talk a lot on the show about kind of making your own path, right? And having kind of the whereabouts to create your own journey. When people are like, how'd you get here? It's like, well, that path might not exist anymore, but hopefully there's some doors or some routes along the way. What do you see that's like the next step that you want to do going forward from here?
Well, I'm always about like helping out. I just like to help. It's crazy. I don't know what I was filling out recently, but it was something where they were like, if you could get paid to do something you like doing all the time, I was like, if philanthropy was a career, I would do it. Because when it comes to how I got in this position and doing the things, like I genuinely hit the genetic jackpot. I just came from a family full of athletes, and then I also happen to have an athletic gene myself. And it took me to places where I met other athletes. So that's really what it was for me. So I always made sure that I could help out. I always hire girls, interns. I don't really call them interns because I usually let them work really fun projects. I pay them. I want I flew in someone to help me do NBA Summer League this year, and she killed it. And it was nice because that was my first time working NBA Summer League, but also, she can take that and take over the world with that, So I would love to do that all the time.
Yeah.
I love that. Mentorship's important.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously you talk about, growing up in an athletic family but it's like a birds of a feather thing, right? Like, I mean, if you're around athletes all the time, that's probably who you're going to naturally like find and flock to. If you're an athlete yourself, right? That's just kind of how that whole industry and game works. All right. Well, so you got ballers in your family. You're a tennis player. So we got to talk sneakers because we are a sneaker show, for crying out loud. So we do have to talk sneakers a little bit.
I'm not
You're
very.
How important for you playing tennis growing up were sneakers to you, your footwear and what you had on your feet when you're playing? Maybe not necessarily only from a fashion standpoint, or if at all, but from a functionality standpoint.
Gosh, what was my sneaker?
You probably had the Agassiz if you were a big Agassi fan.
I did.
Oh.
You know what's crazy? When it came to gear,
Mm-hmm.
I had like everything Andy Roddick.
Okay.
Okay.
Except, so my mom made me have a Serena racket for like my first couple years of juniors.
So Wilson, you're the Wilson Pro staff?
Yeah. But gear wise, you know, I grew up in Vegas. It's 115 degrees outside. I would kind of just freestyle it with like American Apparel, and then I would wear any shoe at the time because I didn't have to really worry about it. But then once I got to school, the first school I went to, it was Adidas.
Those barricades, though, that was like, that was the vibe at the time.
I used to rock out with the barricades, so I didn't mind them. And then I got to my second school, and that's when I switched to Nike. But I feel like I was playing better tennis.
You're like, I may have looked better at the Nike school, but I played better at the Adidas school.
Yeah, I feel like I was hitting better because I also switched rackets too.
So you went from a Wilson to a what? What'd you switch from a Wilson to?
So when I was in high school, I went Wilson, and then I finished high school. I was like, Mom, like, I love Serena, but Serena's racket is her racket is also large. And you know, I got conceited and was like, it's time for me to use a smaller racket. Like I have it. So I have a really good serve. I was like, Andy Roddick, that's the racket. So I was saying it was
Babolat, right?
Yeah.
And then once I got to my first school in Utah, after a year is when I met my coach who would train me for years on after. He was like, you are not good enough for this racket.
Savage.
He said, Andy, he has an amazing serve, but he has he's not a good volleyer. He has good ground strokes. Right.
So you needed to go back for a volleyer. Yeah.
And I didn't have like the precision on the ground strokes. So he's like, you're not skilled enough for this racket.
Damn, coach.
So,
Jesus.
No, it was funny because I needed that. I got to Utah thinking that this was going to be a breeze.
You were the shit. You're like, oh, I got this.
He's like, you're not that good of a tennis player.
He was like, you not. Like, I
was like, dang, I wish I would have met you 10 years ago. But okay. So then I went to the Wilson that I don't even know if any player like really represented it. I think Andy Murray used it for a little bit, but it was basically a Andy Roddick's Babolat version Wilson that had a little bit bigger of a head.
Okay.
So he was like, this is good for your serve. This is good for your ground strokes. And then he's like, but we need to fix your ground strokes. So then I went to my second school with the Wilson racket, Nike gear, and I was hitting better, but I feel like I wasn't moving as well.
All right.
Interesting.
And tennis is all about movement. We know, right? Like that's key. Like, you know, it's funny, like in a when I'm watching a match, when a player gets tight, I could totally tell them like, man, those feet are in cement blocks right now. And you're just like, I'm like, all right, nervous. I get it. Like, it's just the nerves are in.
And the brain starts kicking in. It's like all of that.
I was such a lazy. I was like, I have to just end the points on it. Like, that's why I made sure to get a really good serve and just make it better and better and better.
You weren't trying to get into 20-shot rallies? That wasn't your jam?
Nope. And I was like, I will always win in a tiebreaker. Like, always win in a tiebreaker.
Like, just get me to the tiebreaker, baby.
And if I didn't win the tiebreaker, then the mental part would kick in and I would collapse.
Racket broken, new racket, get this shit out of here, bring back the Babolat, let's go.
Bring back the Babolat. Would you?
That's when the head case would come because I would be like, dang, I don't know what to do.
I played with a girl like that too, where we had to get bike shorts built into our tennis skirts. Like my freshman year in college when I played, she had ripped off her skirt in the middle of a point because she was so frustrated. Not a racket breaker, but a skirt ripper. And so she had these like little shorty bike shorts on. I'll never forget it. They were like, we're going to change this around for the next tournament. We're going to get the ones from the built-in because this ain't it. That's legendary.
It is, I was talking about this on another pod, and you mentioned it as well, Alexis. And LeBron actually talked about this. He was like, if I could play another sport, it'd probably be tennis. But the reasoning he said that was because, much like Alexis, and we know this for LeBron, like LeBron over his career does not like young teammates. And the reason he doesn't like young teammates on is because he feels like he cannot, they don't show up on time. Like LeBron's a super type A OCD, right? Like as many elite, great athletes are. And the thing about tennis is, you ain't got shit else to worry about, right? If I don't win, it's on me, right? Like nobody else to blame. And there are people who just wired better that way. But there is that mental side of it, right? Where it's like, yeah, but you can't call timeout, right? So when someone's on a run and you're like, shit, I'm down love 4. Oh, well, you're gonna roll. You got to figure it out because
there's another set. That's it. Let's call it a wrap.
No help, right? And I think it's just that part of it, I think, is so fascinating about tennis is the mental warfare that goes on, like inside your brain and then between you and the person across the net from you.
Yeah, I remember my mom didn't go to a lot of my college tennis matches because I didn't really want her. I didn't really care. Like, I wasn't playing. I was playing tennis so that I could pay for school, to be honest. Like, once I figured out what I was going to do eventually, which was try a pro career, the college tennis was just like something that could make my parents happy. So I was like, look, I'm going to go to school like you guys want me to. So I didn't have them go to a lot of matches, but I remember one, she drove up to Utah and it was the same situation. So I was up 3-love first set. Then it got to a tiebreaker. I don't know. I can't remember how I collapsed, but it got to the tiebreaker.
Up 3-0 and you got to a tiebreaker. So something happened somewhere.
Yeah. And then my mom went. And so my college, we would play our matches at a country club. And so my coach was who ended up being my professional coach. He would be in town. He was there. So I think my mom was probably talking to him, went to go grab something to eat. I don't know, but maybe she went to go watch one of my teammates because I ended up being close with a lot of my teammates. I don't know, but she came, or I ended up finishing the match before she got back. And she was like, what happened? And I was like, I lost 11 games in a row.
Oof.
And just collapsed. And she was like, or no, 12. Yeah, 3. I don't know. I was up 3-0.
Lost on a tiebreak.
And then I got goose egg.
It gets away from you fast. It can get away from you in a hurry.
Really can.
And I just remember I told her, I don't even know what happened. I didn't have time to be upset. It was
the onslaught came so quick. You're like, I don't even know what happened. You're just like,
yeah, it was the craziest experience. And I remember, I think I was mad because my college tennis coach and I didn't get along as best as we could have because he kind of knew that I was trying to get out of there and
do other things. Yeah.
So I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been. And like I said, I was lazy. So, you know, so I think we had a rotation. It was 1 through 6. And I think he had put me 6th. So I was already mad that I was playing last. And so that makes it even worse because I was playing the last on the competing team or the opposing team. And she whooped my ass. And I don't even know how
sometimes it's just that's just how it is sometimes.
That's the beauty of sport, man. That is the beauty of sport, right? It's just shit happens.
And then I just remembered my mom, like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna. I was like, I don't think I'll play another match for this school. Like I knew after that it was a
wrap then. All right, fair enough.
That's how bad the mental was for me. I was like, I can't recover from this. I have got to transfer.
The toughest thing about tennis, though, is like any good player can beat any other good player on any given day, right? Like, and people will be like, "Oh, you're 90 in the world and you're 1 in the world," or whatever that ranking looks like.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Still true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
That is how it goes.
There's a highly ranked doubles player on tour right now. I won't say the name, but we played against each other in high school. We're the same age, or I think she's like a year younger than me, maybe. But yeah, we would have to play against each other in high school, and I was on that. So it was like it's crazy. My hitting partner, who has this, we had the same pro coach. He ended up playing at Ohio State and kept with it. And he made it to the 3rd round. He played Kyrgios.
Look at that.
I love that.
Yeah. It's crazy. And part of me is like, I probably could take a set off of someone here if I really wanted to.
Love that.
But you know,
But that's the kind of like craziness of tennis. Like you never know.
And that mentality though, right? Like we talked about the changing of the guard. Of course, Roger announced his retirement today, the day that we're recording this. You know, the level of play that those 3 men and Serena had in their careers just insane. Like, right, growing up, I was like, all right, like, I'm like, Sampras, 14 majors, like, whatever. You're like, and it's like, there's no offense to like Sampras, Agassi, McEnroe, Borg, but it's like, these dudes,
different time.
This is just, they're on some other, this is some next shit, right? Like, and it's incredible, like what they've done. And to now be like, all right, well, you're on the back end of your career now. 1 of you is already gone. That 2 you're going to be out soon. Who's the next one, right? And it's like, well, you got Alcaraz, right? Who's won his first, and you got like, you know, that next group underneath them, Sinner and Tiafoe, and you know, there's so many guys who can like, you know, really step up and like, but who's going to be consistent, right? That's the thing. Anybody could win a match or a set here or there, but all right, can you get this thing on lock and like run off 3 out of 4 grand? I'm like, I doubt it. But
for a number of years too, a long time.
I don't think so. It's crazy because my age window, we missed it a little bit. You know, it's crazy. John and I can't believe Sam retired. And we thought that's like my age window, and everyone in the tennis community in our window, we thought we were gonna have one, and we didn't get one. So it's crazy that like it went Andy, Marty, James,
Skip.
And now we have like Francis, AJ. Like I said, my old hitting partner, like to get 3rd round at the US tournament, like, and he got a set off of Tiafoe, if I'm not mistaken. So he's young, so the sky is the limit for him. Tracy Austin's son got into the main draw and almost won. He just mentally collapsed at the end. But so there's a chance in the men for Americans. That's a very, very big deal.
Huge.
Because Serena and Venus have been carrying
this for like
decades,
30 years.
Decades with an S. Yeah. Decades. Mm-hmm.
But now this generation is not going to have that like dominance that we got to experience with our legends, because it's insane. My favorite player, like if I have a list, it's number one is Andre Agassi. Then it's Roger. Then it's Novak. But the thing is that Novak is going to be.
Yeah, he's unreal.
I mean, between the three of them, that's 64, 65 Grand Slams, something like that. That's retarded.
Rafa,
three Tom Brady's.
He's not on my list. I don't. He's not like my GOAT.
And is he not your GOAT because you're like, I can't give the GOAT to someone who's the majority of their majors are one-on-one surface?
Ooh, plot twist.
It's because the surface is clay.
And you hate clay.
If the surface was hard, it would be different. I know what you mean. It's a different game.
It is.
But it's the surface that the least amount of people even learn to get good.
So you have a special set of skills already going into that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, he has won majors on grass and on hard court too.
Absolutely.
Which is why he's a legend. He is one of the GOATs. Yours. He's just not one of mine. I think it takes like Pete is a lot of people's GOATs. Pete isn't one of mine because I think that Andre did something that Pete can't. Maybe like Pete won more, but Andre did it all.
Yeah. He changed the game with who he was.
Andre, to come from Las Vegas, Nevada, a place where we don't even have any other surface courts. It's 110 degrees.
So hot.
And he won every major, and he did it while playing with Pete and a bunch of other guys. And that's why, like, I think and then Roger came around. He just.
I mean, for me,
Novak will.
I just feel like peak Fed. I don't think I've witnessed anybody play better tennis than peak Federer. Like, it's just like that run from like 05 to like 09. I was like,
I mean, what about Novak's run that he just had?
Novak's,
because I mean,
no doubt. I just mean like, I just mean aesthetically, like
Roger consider like, you know what? It's the end of
I think for me, it's aesthetically for me, right? I think that's why I like it, right? It is the way that Roger made tennis look really effortless. Like, it takes no effort to play it.
Strokes,
and I'm like, but I know it takes way more effort than that. It just looks like it doesn't to you.
He does that in life, though. Like, I mean, I saw Roger Federer walking down the street and like hair blowing in his wind. He's just one of those people.
When I watch a Nadal match, like, I know that takes effort because I feel every point that because he plays so fit, right?
Yeah.
Same with Novak in a way too, right? Like,
it's like Andy should have more than one. He should have more than one. But it's like when he was playing Roger, it's like Andy should have maybe gotten one from Roger because from the looks of it, Andy was trying harder, but Roger is just like Andy really tried. He worked his in those finals against him. But he just could not play better than Roger. And that's so scary to me because I knew the second he fired Todd Simon and was like, I'm gonna go gluten-free, and like I was like, oh snap.
You're like, once he changed the diet,
I'm feeling triggered with this gluten-free,
No.
Because that was the only thing that was holding him back is he would never be able to finish matches. He was like, and then once he did,
you're like, oh, look out, this dude's a problem now. No, it'll be an interesting thing to see, like, you know, when Roger's already done, when the other two were done, like where the numbers stack and all that. And then again, you know, as people have already said, like, they're already like, look, they think Alcaraz is the next one, right? So like it'll be interesting to see like what that all looks like, you know, and where it all plays out 20 years from now. All right. Yeah. So we went way longer than I thought, and you don't even do these.
We can talk tennis all day with tennis.
We love tennis. Tennis is great.
I know it's that people even ask about it, so not a lot of people do. I'm glad people have been watching tennis.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Serena bit I think was huge because it showed how much of I mean, of course we know what she is as a tennis player, but she's such a cultural icon, and like, right? It's like I always say, okay, how do I know someone is bigger than their sport? When someone who doesn't watch sports talks about it, that's how I know, right? Like, I'm like, all right, you don't even watch sports anymore? Yeah, this is a big deal, right? That's because when you're immersed in it, you're like, you think everybody thinks it's a big deal, but that's not true. When people who do not watch sports are talking, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you get it. And she's one of those, right? People who don't watch sports know who she is, right? And it's beautiful. That's one of the signs.
We want the legend. It's cool. I'm glad that everyone tapped in the past couple weeks to see that. I don't even think she realized her impact, because if she did, I feel like she would have played a couple more matches.
Just throw a few more in for the rest of us. Yeah. I feel
like she started practicing a little earlier, because her final match was very winnable.
Yeah.
She could have honestly, she could have won the tournament. Every like, Iga is great.
Iga's so good.
She'll win.
Oh my God.
She'll win more slams, but even she was beatable by Serena this tournament specifically. Serena just had not
any given day. Tell you.
It's true. Any given day. Well, folks, bet you didn't think you were going to talk tennis all day today, but we did. That's what we do. Like, this is the end shit part. Sometimes you're like, let's talk about other stuff. Well, this is great. Alexis, tell the people where they can find you, follow your exploits, see what's going on. You like that? Exploits. I make it sound so salacious. It's not really that salacious, but
good word, where can they find you? Great word.
Yeah. Everything is Alexis from Vegas. Alexis. Literally, my website, all my socials, Alexis from Vegas. And yes. Go for it.
and next time you're in Vegas, folks, hit her up. I don't know, get your, she can hook you up with some stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Just reach out.
The Raiders go
Aces. I know.
Go Aces.
Aces about to win that WNBA championship tonight. And of course, from the night we're recording it. Yes. Although I don't want to jinx them. Anyway, folks, you know where to find us. We are at Kicks and Shit Show on all social media platforms. Of course, we are part of the Bomb podcast feed. You can find us there with the original Bomb Show, Woke Bros, Crypto Bros, all the good stuff. And until next time, everybody, peace.